The sun rises over Casca and Guts as they lay naked together. Casca leans over and asks him if it was his first time too. His reaction is just like freaking hilarious and adorable. She remarks on how he used to hate being touched by anyone, but now she knows it's because of his childhood trauma, and he tells her that with her, it never mattered. They embrace once more, and I just want to settle on this image just for a moment because I love it so much. Also, this is probably the last piece of happiness that we're going to get from Berserk for a while, so just soak it in. Enjoy it. Just enjoy it. Okay, we gotta keep going. Casca asks if Guts plans to stay with the Hawks after rescuing Griffith. Guts reflects on what he did this past year while he was away from them. Apparently, for a time, he stayed with two characters, an old blacksmith named Godo and his granddaughter named Erica. They lived up in the mountains where Godo just works and works and works, making a bunch of crazy weapons and tools and just does his blacksmith stuff. He once asked Godo why he decided to be a blacksmith in the first place, but Godo says he never decided. He was born into the trade. He learned early, and he's done it ever since. It was like his purpose was already fated out to him without a choice. Guts relates to this with his own sword, noting that he's always had to fight, and in doing so, holding onto his sword, he's survived from situation to situation. He thinks, though, it's different than the kind of ambition-grabbing dream like Griffith has, but maybe it can still be a purpose all on its own. Reflecting this back to Casca, she just laughs at him endearingly. But she takes this as thinking that Guts is just going to leave them again, to just go sword fighting here and there, just fighting people away from them. So she yells at him to just go. But Guts stops her by grabbing her boob, which is really funny and probably something I would do to get a girl to stop talking to. I mean, obviously, consensually. Let's not go. Anyways, continuing. And he tells her he wants her to come with him. He doesn't know where his journey will take him, but he knows that he wants her to be at his side for it. We then get this brief moment of two foresters on the Midland border, and then they notice something above the trees. They see a snake-like demon walking among them, and nearby, the Crimson Bailet floats down the river. Now, it may not be explicitly stated, but I do believe this is supposed to be the same snake demon that Guts battled in the very first chapter of the manga. It makes an appearance here simply to indicate that something is coming. That demons are on the prowl, for some reason. In the dungeon where Griffith is being kept, he is having dreams and visions, some of his childhood self wandering back alleys, and we get to see more rare moments of Griffith's inner dialogue. He states that he doesn't know how long he's been down here for, or if he's even still sane, but that the only thing keeping him alive are his thoughts of Guts. He states, "How long ago did someone I was supposed to have in hand instead gain such a strong hold on me?" He says that pilgrimage to claim the most sacred piece of junk, referring to the castle in which he would be the king and ruler. But now he shines, glaring within me. The junk grows dull. Meaning that he has become so obsessed over Guts that the whole idea of his dream, his castle, his kingdom, has begun to fizzle away. And he doesn't understand why. Guts is the only one to make him act out in such irrational ways. I go back to the idea that maybe Griffith is actually in love with Guts, but doesn't realize it, or doesn't understand the feeling. After all of Griffith's actions are tactical and for the greater goal. Something like love might be so far out of his comfort zone that even a man as smart as him cannot realize the feeling when he feels it. But if it's not love, perhaps it's simply that he knew deep down that he did view Guts as an equal, or maybe even better. And the fact that Guts goes against everything Griffith considers to be important. Guts has no dream, only lives for living's sake, and Griffith cannot accept this. Whatever the reason, Griffith cannot get Guts out of his head, and he is the only thing motivating him to stay alive right now. Out of the cell walls, a small demonic creature with several heads crawls towards Griffith. It calls him Sweet Prince. Griffith can't tell if it's real or a hallucination, and through the crack in the wall, he can see the shadows of the God Hand. Back with the Band of the Hawk, Casca decides that they will split into two groups, one of the injured that will stay behind, and the able bodies to head out ready to be reinforcements after a small crew rescues Griffith. For reference, Ricker is staying with the injured, Corcus will be the leader of the backup, and the rescue squad will consist of Casca, Guts, Judo, and Pippin. And someone supposedly on the inside of Midland as well. that has been feeding them information about Griffith's condition this whole time. They sneak into Midland through a secret passage through a cemetery. Guts comments that maybe Casca should stay behind to be safe, but she argues that she has to go. And I like this look between Pippin and Judo as they argue. Clearly they know something is up between the lovebirds. Getting inside Midland, they are met with their man on the inside, who is actually a woman. Princess Charlotte, of all people, and she is determined to help them and set free the man that she loves. She notes to Casca that she didn't realize that she was a woman because she was a soldier, and a cheesy laugh from Guts is met with a smack to the face. On their walk to the prison, Charlotte tells them what happened that night in her bedroom chambers, much to Casca's disliking. And she also talks them out of getting caught by some guards. All in all, she's proven to be a very valuable asset on this mission. After getting to the tower where he is being kept, Casca wants Charlotte to leave, but Judo recommends keeping her around, even using her as a hostage if they need to. Charlotte willingly volunteers for this. Her only desire is to be with Griffith. She even plans to come with them afterwards. Casca tries to fight this, wanting to protect Griffith's reputation as much as she can at this point. Having a princess as a hostage or missing from the kingdom means Griffith would never regain his status again. But Charlotte naively fights this. Finally, Casca gives in, probably just not wanting to argue with a teenage girl's raging hormones anymore, which I can't blame her. Back with Rickert's group of Hawk members taking care of the injured, he wanders off to get some water. Off in the distance, he sees what looks like a little creature with wings. He remarks that it's an elf. It buzzes by him and flies away. He then hears screams and commotion coming from the camp. Little Rickert rushes back to the camp to see fire everywhere, and then out of the darkness, a member of the Hawks hangs upside down out of the mouth of a giant demon. Not just any demon. This is clearly the Count from the Black Swordsman arc. So now Miura has brought back earlier versions of at least 2 demons from the first arc. But why is he here, of all places, eating the Hawk members? Rickert also sees a bunch of insect-like creatures, and above them, the elf he saw by the lake. But it's not actually an elf. More on her later. For now at least, whatever was going to happen to Rickert is stopped by the appearance of the Skull Knight, the same one that gave Guts the cryptic warning about the eclipse 1 year prior. He tells both the Count and the elf-like demon to withdraw and not to be hasty. They actually do, which leads me to believe that the Skull Knight character has some insane amount of power. After he wards them off, he leaves himself. This leaves little Rickert alone in the woods, with no other survivors of its group left to wonder just what on earth is happening. Well, we might get a brief idea. As the rescue crew travels downward to the dungeon corridor that goes down quite a ways, they get a little history about the dungeon and Midland in general. A long time ago, when all nations were at war, a man named King Geyserak came from seemingly nowhere and brought an army with him, uniting all nations together as one. His one defining feature is that he would wear a helmet shaped like a skull mask. Judo recounts this legend as well, stating that Geyserak lived in extravagance while taxing the people, and that the city became a place for nothing but feast and pleasure. So 5 angels were sent down to punish him, and the entire city vanished from the face of the earth. The ruins of that city are supposedly at the bottom of this hole that the staircase circles around, dropping a torch to the bottom that none of the main characters see, but it is filled with decayed bodies and skeletons, all with the brand of sacrifice. Okay, so we're going to end here, but I have to talk about my crazy theories with this. And this is just theories. See, I'm not yet caught up with the BERSERK manga, and I'm deliberately dragging it out so that I can keep enjoying it. So I have limited knowledge right now, only being about halfway through the Conviction arc. But I will tell you my thoughts on the Skull Knight thus far. Again, this is a theory, not an analysis. And I am probably dead wrong, but I think that the Skull Knight was once a God Hand member. It says he brought an army and showed up from nowhere. Where would he get the power to do that? Divine power from a Baelit, perhaps? And why a God Hand member and not just a regular demon apostle? Well, because the other apostles are scared of him. He clearly is above them in power, so much so that 2 apostles together chose not to fight him. More evidence on his power coming later as well. And the fact that he was a leader and a king-like character, just like Griffith, who we also know becomes a God Hand member. We also know that even when turned into a demon, you retain some of what you were as a human. So maybe the Skull Knight actually was good, or at least too good to truly be a God Hand member. And what I think happened is that they cast him out. When the legend says 5 angels destroyed the Utopia, Casca corrects Judo, saying the legend was supposedly 4 angels. Maybe this confusion is because there was 5, but Skull Knight was demoted of sorts. And maybe that's why he seems to be the only demonic being that is fighting for good, or at least fighting against the other demons of the world. Could the Skull Knight have been a former God Hand that was taken out? Or, and here's a trippy one, what if the 5th God Hand member it's constantly replaced? What if the Skull Knight was kicked out to make way for a new one? And what if the same will happen to Griffith someday? I don't know, but these are the things I think about when I'm alone at night. So what do you guys think? If there is a true reveal of the Skull Knight's relation to the God Hand, I haven't gotten to it yet. I'm on volume 18 as of writing this analysis, so I don't really know. But let me know what you think. What are your thoughts down below? Don't spoil anything for me, but just tell me your thoughts, your comments, and thanks a lot for watching this video, guys. Really appreciate it. Give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you'd like to. Stay tuned for the next Berserk video.